Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and I'm back again today with another set review video. The Marvel Dice Masters Secret Wars expansion came out just a couple of weeks ago, and now that I've had time to get hands-on with the cards, do some team brewing, play some games, I'm ready now to come back and share some review thoughts. So stick around and let me give you the ins and outs of Secret Wars. See you in a sec. Okay folks, thanks for sticking around. Let's now get started with some basic set information. So, Secret Wars is a Marvel Dice Masters expansion and is primarily sold in the draft pack format. So these are packs of several cards and dice. I'll walk you through what's included in a moment. The intent being that you can pick up a pack, crack them open and start drafts down at your local gaming store with your friends, or buy several packs over and over. They're available in countertop displays of 8 draft packs there so that you can collect them and expand your card selection for constructed play. Cards in the set have varying rarities. There are 5 types of rarity in a Dice Masters expansion. You have commons, you have uncommons, you have rares, super rares, and then the full art chase cards. A single draft pack will include 3 basic action cards. It has 7 common rarity cards, 3 uncommons, and 2 rares. Although a single draft pack may have one of those rares replaced by a super rare or by one of the full art chase cards. Super rare and full art chase card distribution varies from countertop display to countertop display. Community reports right now tend to be that you're guaranteed at least 2 super rares in your countertop display, if not 3. But be warned, there have been some reports out there of some folks getting a whole set without any super rares in at all. There are 2 types of full art chase cards as well. There are full art basic actions and a handful of full art character cards. And I'll get them pictured in my little display area off to the side of the screen there for you to take a look at now. Now, if you're just getting started out, a draft pack will not include the key components that you need to play the game, such as psychic dice and basic action dice. However, that's okay, because I mentioned before that it's being primarily sold through draft packs. There's a second product line being introduced with the Secret Wars expansion. That product line is these Origin Packs. Origin Packs are single-player starter kits that include the aforementioned psychic and basic action dice that you need to get yourself going, as well as a small 2-character, 2 basic action team that you can use to play some introductory learner games with. The Secret Wars expansion has 2 Origin Packs available. We've got the blue one and the pink one. The blue one is themed around Groot and includes a Alt Art Groot card and an Alt Art Goddess Thunder card, as well as 2 Alt Art basic actions, which are, it says reading the back, Locked in Combat and Wallop. And the pink one, which has the pink and black basic action dice and psychic dice, is themed around the Spider-Verse and has a Spider-Gwen and a Spider-Man in it, as well as 2 basic actions. Again, checking the back of the box, the Daily Bugle and Escape. Those cards in there are also alt art. So if you're interested in checking the game out, these are ideal for you to get started. If you and your friend want to give Dice Masters a go, then one of you pick up the blue pack, one of you pick up the pink pack. They're super cheap. They're like £8. And just play out a small learner game with the 2 character teams that are included in there. However, if you're a Dice Masters veteran, these would be of interest to you because the psychic dice are the alternate colours around the colour schemes of the pack. So the blue one's got the blue and yellow psychic dice and basic actions, and the pink one's got the black and pink psychic dice and basic actions. And, as I mentioned, the characters and basic actions included in there are alt art. They have different art on them than the core versions of the characters in the main set. So there's your whys and wherefores with regards to Secret Wars and how you can buy it and get hold of it and the product types and such like. Now, let's get a little bit more under the skin of the set, and I'm going to start by talking about the art and graphics. So this is probably one of the most notable elements to the Secret Wars expansion for Dice Masters because the game has had a facelift. This is the first set to be released with the new look, new feel Dice Masters card designs and art approach, with loads of elements that have now changed to the cards. The information that is contained within is largely the same as what we're used to, and The new layout and the new design doesn't change their compatibility with previous earlier sets. You're still getting all the same salient information. There's no new rules design. It's just an art and graphics approach that has changed. But tons of elements have been altered to improve the player experience. So the general card layout has changed. You can see now, for example, that the dice symbols are running vertically up the right-hand side of the card instead of across the bottom, and they've removed redundant information like the energy. So you used to have all 6 sides of the dice across the bottom of the card. Now you just have the 3 character faces running vertically up the right-hand side of the card. They've also tightened it up with the character name and subtitle to be along a single line, just reducing the amount of space that has dedicated to it on the card so that can now be used for more artwork, more game text. They've introduced an energy color coding system, so cards of different energy purchase costs and globals of different energy costs will now have this color coding attached. That's pretty straightforward. You've got orange for bolts, you've got green for fists, you've got purple for masks, and you've got blue for shields, and you'll see that across the top of the cards and just over the purchase cost of the character. The card's rarity location has changed. No longer have we got the coloured stripes across the top of the text box. We've now got it in the bottom left-hand corner of the card, and that's also highlighted even more by the inclusion of a letter to indicate rarity. So as well as the colour schemes, the standard colour schemes that we've been used to with Dice Masters in the past, where grey is for common, where green is for uncommon, where yellow is for rare, and where red is for super rare, you'll also see a C, a U, an R, or an S to indicate the rarity even more clearly. Collector's information now as well is contained across the bottom of the card, in that little strip across the bottom of the card next to the rarity symbol, whereas it used to be printed quite faintly vertically up the right hand side of the card. So your card numbers, for example, your set symbol, all that kind of stuff is included. So you still got your collector's information for those of us who like to be organized around the ways that we binder up our cards. There's been some simple changes, like the affiliation symbols have moved, so they're now underneath the dice. And they've just put a lot of work into making the text much more vibrant and readable as it's written in the game text area of the card. There's also been a significant change to the approach to the artwork itself. So the characters depicted in the artwork section of the card are now breaking the borders of the card a little bit more. There's been an effort made to give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension, a little bit more dynamic, both in the artwork choices and then in terms of the way that the artwork is applied to the card. Finally, in an effort to maintain that focus on artwork, any character card that has no game text at all, you know, what we would refer to as the vanilla characters, when there's no text in the text box, they've just removed the text box altogether to give us a lovely full art card. But be careful, these aren't the Chase full art cards. These are vanilla text cards that have just gone full art because there's no point having the text box there altogether. So don't think you've landed a super difficult, ultra rare Chase card with some of the full arts, because there's only 2 that are the Chase versions. The rest are just redundant space being taken out of the card so that we can enjoy the artwork more. So for those that are interested, just in the interest of clarity, the cards I'm specifically referring to here are Colossus, Franklin's Galactus, and Molecule Man. So they've got no text in the text box, so they've just removed it to make it full art. Your Chase ones are your Star-Lord and your Ultimate Spider-Man. Community view around the new layout has been a bit polarizing. You know, if you have a look on socials, you'll see some folks going, I don't like it. You'll see some folks saying, I love it. I kind of plow a path through the middle. I've reached the point with the game now whereby as long as the information I need to play the game is there and it's, you know, easy on the eye, I enjoy the artwork for the character depiction in particular, then that's cool with me. How you frame it up with the game information is neither here nor there. I do feel that it looks a lot more contemporary. It looks a lot more in line with other kind of superhero-related card games as well, so that's a more attractive element if you're trying to help bring people into the game. It's also less crowded and less noisy. I think it's easier at a glance to get your eye onto the information that you need. When I was talking to Jimmy over at WizKids, the product manager over there, he said that one of the driving forces to the new design was for drafters, so that if you fan out your cards in your draft situation and you're looking through to try and pick things out, they've put more information on the right hand side, like the purchase cost, the energy, you know, that's what the color coding's all about, the affiliation symbols, all on the right hand side, so that as you fan it out, you've got a kind of quick glance to see if there's anything you want to focus your drafting attention on. And so that's interesting. Although, as a left-handed individual, it was better for me with the purchase costs on the left-hand side of the card. What can I say? We're just us lefties are horrifically discriminated against when it comes to the printing of information on game cards. The artwork itself is pretty good. It's pretty solid. There's some highs and there's some lows, like there is with any set. It does have a particularly consistent tone, I feel, in the artwork, and this is because the artwork selections for the character depictions have all largely, not everything, but largely come from Secret Wars related comic book titles. So they've drawn the character depictions directly out of the source material that the set theme is about. And I'll talk a bit more about set theme in a minute. Quite a lot of the artwork included in the set is from Secret Wars titles covers. So there's Esad Ribic's work, there's Patrick Scherberger's work, there's Saya who did a lot of the Battle World covers. There's some Alex Ross in the set. There's some Chris Sprouse, there's some W. Scott Forbes. Who else? I'm flicking through the binder to see what I recognise now, actually. I should have written it down. Yeah, I think that Hyperion might be Carlos Pacheco. But anyway, the vast majority of it is Secret Wars covers from Secret Wars related titles from the company-wide event that took place in 2015. There is a little sprinkle of non-Secret Wars related stuff. The Mr. Fantastic artwork is a great piece of work from an alt art cover by Chris Somney, a Fantastic Four comic book. The Dazzler is an alt art cover from a title called A-Force, which I think might be Sia again. Then you've got some in-panel work as well, like Namor. That's come from a one-shot called Dark Reign, the Cabal, which is from a previous storyline from the Dark Reign stuff. So there's some in-panel work, and Doctor Strange is in-panel as well. He's taken from inside one of the Secret Wars titles. It's not a cover image, but overall, it's consistent. There's a consistent tone and feel to the artwork because it's taken directly from the source material that the set is themed around. And these are considered some of the best in the business. Certainly, cover art-wise, they're considered some of the best in the business working for Marvel right now. So the artwork is top-notch. And some of the stuff really pops with the new kind of border-breaking approach to the art on the card in the new layout and in the foil as well. Some of it's got some real pop to it. So it's really nice artwork. It's really nice to see. I don't think it's quite as good as the Dark Phoenix saga personally. I'm not sure, although some would disagree. I know Andy would disagree. I'm not sure that I consider it better than the Superman Kryptonite Crisis set. But in combination with the new layout, in combination with the new approach, and the more dynamic way they're applying the artwork to the cards, it works. It works. And largely overall, it's a nice visual experience on the eye to flick through the binder and soak up some of the artwork. Although, were I in WizKid's shoes, I would have... There was lots of much better artwork of Franklin's Galactus. There's much better Wolverines from around that time you could have picked. And, well, we all know about the Sleepy Strange decision. So, yeah. Artwork, it's a thumbs up from me. I think it's looking good, but perhaps some small amount of room for improvement. Okay, well, I'm kind of in that space already, so I'll now move on to talking about the set theme. So I've already alluded to it while talking about the artwork there in the art and graphics section of the video. Normally I'd do set theme first, actually, but I switched it around because I felt like I had to get the card layout stuff out up front. But the set is clearly themed around the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, the universe-wide Secret Wars storyline. Not the 1984 one, the 2015 one, which was written by Jonathan Hickman, and the core maxi series in the centre of it all, written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by the aforementioned Esad Ribic. I keep mispronouncing that. So it's an interesting theme. The long and the short of it is pretty simple. There's been a massive multiverse incursion event that has taken place in the Marvel Universe, which has meant that several different realities with different versions of all these Marvel characters have all been smashed together. In the crunch moment where this incursion is about to cease all reality, Doctor Doom uses the power of the Beyonders and Molecule Man to draw together all these kind of disparate pieces, or this kind of patchwork of these realities, of these multiversal realities, and bring them together into a new reality called the Battle World, of which he installed himself as the god Emperor Doom of the Battle World. So lots of the characters included in the set are all from these various different multiversal realities that exist within the wider Marvel context. A lot of them drawn directly from the what if kind of storylines or sub-lines within the Marvel Comics universe. For example, some of the more significant characters in the Secret Wars storyline and in the game are from the Ultimate Marvel universe, which was kind of one of the main, the Ultimate Marvel universe, and then the Core 616. They were the two kind of main incursion combining multiverses, dimensions, or whatever, that initiated all this. And some of the key characters that have appeared in the set are from the Ultimate universe, like Ultimate Spider-Man, the Miles Morales version of it, and the Maker, which is the evil Reed Richards that exists in the Ultimate Marvel universe. And then you've got the kind of core characters that we know and love, such as the Fantastic Four characters like Mr. Fantastic, and the Black Panther is in there. So we've got those core ones. But then you've also got the alternate Secret Wars, alternate reality versions of characters. So you've got, Doctor Doom is not Doctor Doom, it's God Emperor Doom. You've got Doctor Strange, but it's Sheriff Strange. The Maker I've already mentioned. You've got Franklin's Galactus rather than just Galactus. So, you're seeing all that stuff. It's the Phoenix Force Cyclops in there. The Thor core versions of characters. So it's not Storm, it's the Goddess of Thunder. It's not Thor, but the Thor Higher Avalon. So lots of familiar characters, but new versions of them in the Secret Wars storyline context that they existed as. Now, this is both a good thing and a bad thing. There's pros and cons to this. As a comic book fan who read the Secret Wars event back in 2015 when it was first published, it's nice to see that they've got these thematic touches. They've chosen to name the characters around their Secret Wars Battle World personas rather than the wider sort of Core 616 universe personas, which is a lovely touch. Gives it its own identity within the wider context of Dice Masters. I'm thinking back to like War of Light as another example of that, where the characters had their kind of own identity attached to the specific theme storyline, the comic book source lore that they're using to inspire the set, which is a nice touch. And that then, as I mentioned before, brings consistency to the tone of the artwork and the way that the set is put together. So that's a good thing. That's in the pro column. However, it just hurts me a little bit. Things like Galactus has finally arrived in the game, and the first time he appears, it's the Franklin's Galactus version from the Secret Wars storyline, rather than a really super awesome kind of core main 616 version of Galactus. I'd have loved to have had a nice classic Galactus card with some gorgeous Alex Ross artwork from something like the Marvels miniseries or something. So yeah, it irks me a little bit that we've got these great iconic characters that have appeared in the game for the very first time, and we're getting the Secret Wars version of them. Same with Doctor Doom. I know there was a Doctor Doom in AVX, but we've waited a long time for Fantastic Four related characters to return to Dice Masters, and when Doctor Doom does finally arrive, it's the God Emperor Doom. I get why it's the case. I understand what's going on there. That there's in-game implications as well about using different personas, because you can have several Thors now. But as a comic book fan and a comic book lover who wants the classic characters in the game, this happened with War of Light. I'm going back to War of Light because it's always bothered me that we've never had a proper Green Lantern version of the likes of Guy Gardner. You know what I mean? The set theme has definitely widened the borders out into a few little spike points, a few little areas of the wider Marvel universe. So we've got Jimmy Woo in there, we've got Agent Brand in there, we've got Dazzler that's turned up, we've got the Spider people, Spider folk, the kind of Spider-Verse stuff going on with Spider-Gwen and the black-suited Spider-Man in there. There's a Beast randomly, although I think he does have... Was Beast in the little 616 Survivor unit? So there's a whole thing in the storyline where there's these two life rafts that Reed Richards has created, and a collection of superheroes from the Ultimate Marvel Universe and a collection... No. just a gaggle of villains, a cabal of villains, and a gaggle of heroes on the 2 separate life rafts that end up in the battle world. And I'm wondering if Beast was on one of the life rafts, whether he was on the good guy one. My memory's not serving me well. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read it recently. But if not, there's a little sprinkle of X-Men type stuff there with Beast. So they have widened the borders a little bit, and these are nice character choices. Dazzler is popular with X-Men fans. Jimmy Woo, is a nice bit of comic relief in the MCU, but he's actually a really kind of significant Nick Fury style character. He's proper Billy Big Balls super spy out in the Pacific East. There, he's like the Nick Fury equivalent. So, yeah, they're nice characters. Nice to see some new characters in there that have widened the borders beyond. There's some speculation out there that the Spider-Verse characters that are included are from the cancelled, Spider-Man Team Up Spider-Verse box set that was announced but cancelled ages ago. There's also some speculation that the Fantastic Four stuff that's included in Secret Wars is from the Galactus versus the Fantastic Four box set that was announced and cancelled a while ago too. I'm less sure about the Fantastic Four stuff because the Fantastic Four characters do have a significant role to play in the storyline of Secret Wars, so that may be less the case, or they've cherry-picked the ones that could be cross-purposed, I don't know, but there is some speculation about that. The set theme draws very heavily on the comic book lore in the game text of the cards as well. The Thor core characters and the way that they interact and work together, and their synergy is very in line with the way that they work together and interact in the comic book storylines. Same again with the Fantastic Four affiliation stuff there, which is really nice and lovely to see. There's little touches I notice in there with characters like the Thing, Black Swan, and Franklin's Galactus, and God Emperor Doom that all kind of connects or relates thematically to who their character personas are in the Secret Wars storyline, how they operate, what their agendas are, those types of things. Like Black Swan is part of a kind of God Emperor Doom worshipping cult, and so she's got S.H.I.E.L.D. character related positive effects because they're supporting God Emperor Doom. God Emperor Doom's a really control-heavy character, which is appropriate for his, his autocratic dictator installing himself as the ruler of the battle world kind of stuff, which is nice. The Fantastic Four all buffing and supporting each other, all that kind of stuff. So the set theme has definitely drawn very heavily from the comic book lore source material in many elements of the game text as well, which is really lovely to see. So it's just a nice little tip of the hat to those in the know. Yeah, so it's a good solid theme. It's a good solid storyline that's well known and a big significant event for Marvel Comics readers. So no complaints here. Just those little criticisms around the Galactus and whatnot. So yeah, solid set. Let's now move on and talk about what's included in terms of game effects, and let's share some of the new mechanics. So there's a couple of sort of new mechanic-y, gameplay, game texty bits in the Secret Wars set that give it a little bit of flavour and a little bit of uniqueness in its own right. It's quite often the case with a new Dice Masters expansion that they bring in a handful of little elements to just give it its own personality or to mark its space in the Dice Masters world. Some things obviously carry on into subsequent sets, some things don't. But this one has got, I suppose, two notable game mechanic-y bits that I wanted to draw attention to. The first is the introduction of a new card type. We've now got epic basic actions, folks, a different type of basic action that you can play with in the game. So these are considered epic in two senses, really, of the word. The first is epic because they are basic action depictions of what would be considered sort of epic, legendary artifacts, items, mythical items in the Marvel Universe. The Cosmic Cube, the Siege Perilous, the Infinity Gauntlet, the Gem of Cyttorak, just epic, huge, mythical items that have a significant role to play in many storylines and many elements of the comic book. So they're epic in that sense, but they're also epic in the sense of the fact that they have an additional set of rules applied to them that are reflective of the insane game text that are attached to them. So I'm going to read you the epic basic action rules off the useful rules insert. So epic basic actions and their effects can't be copied. You can only use or purchase one epic basic action per turn. After using an epic basic action, return it to its card, and you can't purchase an epic basic action unless you have an active character with a purchase cost of 4 or greater. So they've got these really crazy sort of sweeping game effects in them that are balmy. Some of them are balmy. But these are reflective of the fact that both in the comic book source material, they are epic items, legendary epic items, but also they've got these rules attached to them to kind of balance up the craziness that they bring with them. So that's definitely an interesting element and one I'll be playing around with for sure. We've also got, for the second time now in the game of Dice Masters, a new alternative win condition in the form of Black Panther. We've only ever had one other alternative win condition before that sits, outside of the core diminish your opponent's 20 life to 0 requirement of the game. That was the Hellfire Gala promo card. But yeah, Black Panther, we've got another alternative win condition that's built around a specific affiliation in the game, which I think is really cool. Not only is it thematic, because again, it's related to the storyline beats of the main Secret Laws maxi series that runs through the centre of the comic. I'll not say any more on that in case, spoiler alert and all that. But it's also a nice touch because, alternative win conditions are fresh and they're interesting. And while they might not necessarily be competitive, super competitive, they bring a new flavour, a new something that you can sit down and have a go brewing around. So I'm really into that. I'm really into the Black Panther card, and I'm looking forward to giving that one a go. Outside of that, there's a couple of cards that got some interesting kind of timing pieces around where they take place within the in the dice standard Dice Masters turns in a round that stand out a little bit, but nothing that we haven't already seen before. But the epic basic actions and the alternative win condition are definitely really fresh and new. So that's the new mechanic-y stuff, but there's definitely a big chunk of what I generally describe in these videos as the returning faves, mechanics, keywords, game effects that have been popular through the history of Dice Masters, and some version of them are reappearing in the Secret Wars set. I'm not always the largest fan of that. I'm always, having been playing the game for as long as I have, I find it can get a little repetitive when we start seeing reprint game text and the same sort of effects over and over and over again. But in this particular instance, I believe it's even more by design than it has been before, because with the new look, new feel facelift of Dice Masters and the new product line, the Origin Packs, and the drive there to hopefully attract some new blood, some new players to the game, the return of the kind of classic game effects and some back to basics sort of character stuff going on, I think it makes sense, and I'm more in support of it, I suppose, this time around than I have been in the past. And less critical of reprinted effects or very similar effects in the Secret Wars set compared to, say, how I spoke about reprinted effects in the Dark Phoenix saga. But there's lots of stuff that's tried and tested and true. There's keywords like Overcrush, Regeneration, Energize, Team Watch, Deadly, Fast, all kind of core staples of the game now. Very clean, very comprehensive, straightforward game effects, often have parallels in other games of this nature, so if a new player does come along, they can get to grips with them nice and quickly, because conceptually they have a similar parallel in other games they may have played, in other collectible games they may have played. There's obviously very popular returning globals like the Distraction, Attack, Canceller global, which its absence has definitely been felt, and this is one of the few times I'm very happy to have a reprinted card, because as a control player I love Distraction, but you've also got the Force Block globals, the Force Attack globals in there. There's also lots of pingy damage type stuff, with a trigger effect, deal 2 damage to target character, deal 3 damage to a character of your opponent's character of your own, all this kind of stuff going on. So there's some very kind of fundamental board ping, but it targets players a lot less in this set and much more focused towards targeting your opponent's dice, which again is kind of about that, kind of going back to core fundamentals with the game. Clear out your opponent's characters so that you can go through with your attack damage and whatnot. So there seems to be a lot of pingity ping character damage going on that's triggered by various things. Use an action, fire a shot off. Field a character, fire a shot off. Field a fist character, do 2 damage. Field a mass character, do this. So kind of a lot going on there. So there's these kind of natural synergies. This is obviously also really good for drafting because those internal synergies and those good, solid, classic game effects are definitely easy to make use of to win games in drafts as well. So there's that element, and there's definitely a tone of a drafting focus, which I'll return to in a minute. So lots of returning faves in the game effects, lots of comfortable game effects there. As I say, I'm not always the biggest fan of that, but in this instance, when we've got the new product type, I'm on board. And that leads me neatly into the question of draft or constructed. And I think this set is well put together to suit the needs of both types of players. There's definitely some good, solid tribal themes in the set that will appeal to drafters out there. There's cards that you can, kind of pluck out of a draft and then follow a particular kind of drafting strategy ongoing. Certainly the affiliations, the Thorcore, the Spider Friends, the Fantastic Four, their tribal synergy is good drafting stuff. There's nice cards that have good natural synergy. As I mentioned before, the Beast, when you field a Fist character, and there's a couple of nice cheap Fist characters in there. So there's some nice kind of tribal themes or internal synergies that exist within the set. Our North American correspondent here at the Ministry of Dice, Andy May, otherwise known as Andy America, sent me some feedback. He's drafted the set a ton since it's come out in the last couple of weeks, and he said that one of his observations is that there's a real great selection of common and uncommon cards that you can make nice teams out of or use to enhance your teams. So with all that mini removal stuff, that ping damage that I was mentioning earlier in there, there's some nice control, but there's enough of it at the lower end of the rarities too that you can make some solid teams. And he gave me a list of stuff that he's had some really interesting experiences around. Perhaps I'll get him on to share those sometime soon. So from the horse's mouth, from someone who's drafted the set a great deal, it comes highly recommended as a draft set. Although one observation is that ramp is a bit of an issue, can be a bit of a challenge here, which is again not uncommon for drafting Dice Masters expansions. We've seen this before, that ramp can be a bit of a challenge, so that's to bear in mind. But there's also good stuff in there for those who are fans of constructed play. Certainly someone like me who has a tendency to lead towards casual or more thematic related games has seen lots to enjoy in the set, and I've been brewing like a maniac and getting games in with my man Andy England, my partner in crime here at the Ministry of Dice. So the affiliation synergies that I just mentioned for the draft appeals to me as a constructed player as well. I want to make a nice Fantastic Four team. I want to make a nice Thorcore team. I want to dig out my old Golden Spider Friends team and see what how the new Spider Friends enhance that, or see if there's anything going on with the sprinkle of Avengers or sprinkle of X-Men characters in there. And that stuff I was mentioning before, like the little mini pingity ping removal, is interesting. There's win conditions to explore. There's cards to brew around that have nice combo pieces. We've been doing the 2-card combo theme on the podcast lately, and I've got another video coming down the pipeline with combos I'd like to try. So it's working real well in Modern with previous card releases from Infinity Gauntlet, Dark Phoenix Saga, Superman Kryptonite Crisis. So I think there's a lot to appeal to a constructed player as well. I just don't think that those who are like really competitive and on the lookout for the meta-shaking, earth-shattering card are going to find that in this set. Which I would argue means that it's quite nicely balanced for people who are getting started, beginning to play the game with this set as the first ever set they've picked up. And you get good value for money out of it there if you're a casual player and you want to mix it up and play around with funny formats and funny team building restrictions, but it means that there's not anything that's sort of ringing a meta bell quite the same way as your master molds have done in the past, or your rare Barry Allens or your rare Cables or your Lilandras, that's flashy and eye-catching and is clearly hugely meta impactful. Although I'm happy to be proven wrong, so if there is something you think is going to really shake up the meta and I've missed it, then drop into the comments down below and give me a heads up, because I'd love to know, as would many other viewers. So yeah, get it out there. But yeah, I think it's got a lot to offer both draft players and constructed players, although I think there might be a little bit more in there to appeal to the more casual constructed players, or the more themey constructed players, than there is for the more competitive constructed players. I don't know. I find it hard to take the competitive view with it sometimes, but yeah, tons of nice fun stuff in there. So it's a thumbs up on both counts there, draft and constructed. And there we are then, folks. That brings me to the end of my Secret Wars, Marvel Dice Masters Secret Wars set review. I hope some of my thoughts and some of the insights to the set I've shared today have helped you out. If you're on the fence about picking it up, or you're new to the game and curious and intrigued what the view is from a veteran player, a long-standing lifer in the world of Dice Masters, then I hope those insights have helped you. And and like I say, if you are on the fence, it's helped you make your decision, made your mind up as to which way you're going to go, whether you're going to go pick it up. I would recommend it, definitely. I think it's a solid set. I'm liking the new look, new feel. I'm liking the artwork. I'm liking the game effects that I've been playing around with. I think there's lots of brewing potential in it, so it's shaping up to be a good set in that respect. Time will tell, of course. It's only been 2 weeks since release, so time will tell as more games are played and more exploration takes place, whether there's more or less than I've seen at this point there, but those are my thoughts as they stand right now. So please do drop in the comments down below and share your thoughts on the set. How's it been? What's your hands-on time been like with it? What have you discovered in there that's interesting? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is there something I've missed? All that good stuff. So let me know in the comments down below. I know you folks out there love telling me when I've missed something out, so fill your boots on that one. Otherwise, that brings me to the end. I've been Chris. This is the Ministry of Dice. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, but you want more Dice Masters content, then please do hit the red subscribe button. And if this has been helpful, hit the like and all that. There you go. There's all the YouTube pandering stuff done. I'll wrap that up there now. Been a pleasure to have you here, folks. Have a great day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.